Hello, it's Ed. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Thanks for joining me again for another little photo adventure. And today I am in New Mills, a little village in Derbyshire. I'm here with Lucy and we are going to be staying for the weekend because it is the New Mills Arts Festival big weekend. There's an art trail, there are all sorts of little events going on and we are going to sample some of those, sample some ales as well and some nice Italian food. I thought it was also a really good opportunity to think about street photography in a village, because this is a little place in the middle of Derbyshire. We're not too far from Stockport, we're not too far from Manchester, but we are out in the sticks a little bit. And is it possible to get good street photography here? Because when we think about street photography, almost all the time, we are thinking of big cities like London, Paris, New York, Tokyo. These are the places where people stalk the streets trying to get great street photos, and it does seem like the natural habitat for that. But what if you live in a small town, small village like this one? Would it still be possible to be a street photographer, or would you have to make that commute into the big city? We will find out over the course of this weekend, perhaps. I'll try and answer that question anyway. So, brought two cameras with me on this weekend. I've brought with me the Eos 620 because it's an SLR. It's got a fast 50mm f1.8 lens, so I'll be able to get some good shots with that, nice crystal clear shots. And I've also got my Olympus XA4 because it is a perfect carry around camera for when I'm just going in and out of events and in the evenings when I don't want to be carrying a big SLR with me. I've bought two rolls of film as well for this event. I've got the CineStill 800T, which I think will pair very nicely with the XA4 for the evening stuff, and I have got Ektar 100, which I haven't shot for a long time, but it's a really nice fine-grained film. It is quite slow, but with that f1.8 lens, I'm hoping, even though it's not great weather at the moment, that I'll be able to get some nice shots during the day with it. Right, that is the gear. I'm going to load up, I'm going to get ready and head off with Lucy to the first of our engagements, and I will try and bring you along for as much as I can, and we will talk street photography. Is it possible to do it in a small village as we go along? Right, let's load up. Right. So that was really nice. Went inside there and I've actually got some photo postcards from local photographer Pat Stanway, I think she's called. But yeah, some really nice nature and snowy scenes. So yeah, that's good. So having checked that really nice little fair off the list, we had a look to see what else there was on and wandered around a few of the art trail pieces, which were windows of local shops and businesses which had work from local artists in it. And it was interesting to see that there were quite a lot of photographers there. There was a lot of stained glass and there was a lot of photography, but not street photography. So one of the things about if you're going to be a street photographer in a small village is some people like to be part of the photographic community and bump into other street photographers as they wander around, and that's not very likely to happen here, I don't think. In fact, I did a little bit of research looking for street photographers from New Mills, and the only one that I could actually find was somebody called Casper McIndoe, and he appeared to have stopped working on the streets there in 2014. So it's quite strange. There are a lot of actual photography businesses. I think there are at least 4, which is more than you would expect in a small village, but no street photographers that I could find. I did see lots of landscape work, and there is a photography community there, I think. So when I talk about a lack of community, it's that lack of community. I think probably because of the nature of the village, street photography is just not really a thing, but I could well be wrong. Please do let me know if I've totally misjudged and there is actually a thriving street photography community. One thing I did see was an old acquaintance of mine, Len Grant, leading a street sketching workshop. Here's a photograph to prove it. He was there with a group of street sketchers. So maybe this is it. Maybe street sketching is the way to go, not street photography. There are lots of opportunities for photos around here. you get stories that you wouldn't get in a big city, but there aren't as many stories. It's not the sort of place where there is a flood of humanity going past all the time and you can get a shot that is, you know, going to be a great one, and you can spend all day doing things, and there are only a few streets. In the old days when you had very few cameras and just one person in a town, yeah, that would have worked. But these days, when everybody's got a camera on their phones, it would just seem a little bit odd, I think, to be doing street photography here. If I lived in a village like this, it would be getting on the train, going to Manchester, getting on the train, going to Sheffield. I don't really think it's something that you could do on a day-to-day basis here, but it is a fabulous little village, and I hope that these few photos will show what a nice place it is. And it is a lovely place, and I was able to get some okay landscape photographs, even though I wasn't set up for shooting landscapes. I only had my mini tripod with me, and it was not exactly great weather. So as I show you these images, I think I ought to say that I am using the term village in this video colloquially and very loosely. I know New Mills is probably technically a small town, but compared with Stockport, which is also a town, it feels very much like a village. It has that village centre feel. I know I will probably get angry messages saying, we are not a village, but for the purposes of talking about whether you can be a street photographer in a small place with a small centre and a relatively small population, that's what I'm talking about here. So with that out of the way, let's carry on. I did get up at the crack of dawn and try and get the sunrise, but I was greeted with layers of mist. It's about 6 a.m. I woke up at 3:30 for no apparent reason, and after lying in bed for several hours, decided I might as well go out and see if I could get some pictures of the dawn. So I'm hoping it will be dawn shortly. But while I've been waiting, there's quite an impressive chasm. I don't know if you can hear the goit down there under this bridge, and I'm trying to take a picture with the CineStill 800 to get the tungsten lights there and then the street light down in the gorge. And here's the result, and it's not too bad. It's not great either. I would have loved to have got more depth to the picture, but I was working with this mini tripod and I couldn't risk leaning further. I couldn't look into the viewfinder and see exactly what I was getting. But the colours are nice. You can see the flare from the XA4 lens, these splashes of light coming out from these street lights, and that does kind of spoil the effect a little bit, but it's nice and it was worth getting up early for. While I was waiting for the dawn to come, I decided to go and take a few pictures of lonely objects, because early morning is a lonely time, and I quite like this one of a bus shelter near the viaduct that I was waiting on. Again, I think the cool tones of the CineStill work really well with that. After taking it, I wandered to the main bus station, and although it looks darker, it was actually a bit brighter at this point. The first bus, I think it was, of the day was waiting to let people off, and I quite like this with just the front of the bus and the bus shelter on the other side with the street lamp dead centre, and I'm quite pleased with that shot. It's just a shame that, again, you've got this flaring of the lens, which is just the way the XA4 is. I guess technology's come a long way in the last 30-40 years. With the sun actually starting to rise, even though it wasn't visible, I went down to the railway station and tried to get a picture there. And there was the first two trains of the day, I'm imagining they are, waiting in the station to go in two different directions. And you can see the iron bridge going over the railway and the mist in the background, and the halation of the CineStill film works really well. Unfortunately, I was probably setting my focusing incorrectly. I only had the choice of 3 meters or infinity, and usually 3 meters gives you pretty good depth, but because it was so dark, I was working on a tripod, the aperture was wide open, and so the background is a bit soft, and I would have preferred to have had the background sharp, so maybe I should have gone for infinity. And then with dawn well and truly broken, I got this one shot of the mill down in the valley with some lights still on. You can see the chimney stack there on the right, and there's a little waterfall over on the bottom left, and the hills in the mist. This was shot on 28, but if it had a wider lens and I'd been able to dip down a little bit further, it would have been really nice to have got more depth to it. But as a holiday snap, it's not too bad. And this last one I took in this session is on the Ektar. I thought I'd give the Ektar a go. It was hard to keep the SLR still on the mini tripod, so I was going with the XA4 partly because the film was faster, so I wasn't having to worry about reciprocity, but also because the weight of the SLR meant that the mini tripod tended to move a little bit unless it was totally planted. But this last shot I really quite like, and it shows the fine grain of the Ektar doing the job and the really good resolving power of that 50mm Canon lens. It's a nice lonely village scape and totally different from how things looked during the day. With that taken, I headed back to meet Lucy at our little rental, and we set off for breakfast. And once the mist had burned off, it was actually quite a nice day and an opportunity to actually get a few street photographs. And the obvious thing here is the fact that the roundabout has been turned into a St George's flag, but I don't do politics on this channel, and so I'm just going to leave that there as a document of history and move on to this next shot, which is some cyclists waiting for the cafe on the main street to open. There are a number of cafes. This is my favourite one, I have to say. Not that I've tried them all, but I really do like this little cafe. I had a really good full English breakfast here. So these early morning cyclists in front of the shop make a passable street photograph, I would say. After the breakfast, we had a wander around to look at some more of the art trail, and I took this picture of a couple looking in the window of one of the shops at the artwork, and I just kind of like it because of the way they are grouped with the pillar box, and the shapes all kind of work. Also, the fact that the shop is closed because it's a Sunday morning, but the artwork is just showing at the bottom. I kind of like that with the blinds down. It's just got something a little bit more interesting about it than if the shop was fully open. The next shot, it's just one of those basic street shots where you try to get the shape of a pedestrian framed perfectly in a space. Yeah, it works okay, but not very interesting. And then this last one, I think I actually took this the day before on the Canon with the Ektar film, and it's the market. And so there were some people chatting in front of one of the vans that was either loading or unloading for the market. So there are street photography opportunities, but not so many. It's more a case of finding nice landscapes and maybe taking portraits in those landscapes. And here's one that I really quite like that I took of Lucy. And yes, I think the CineStill film in daylight has done some really lovely work with those reds in the foliage and then the blues in the denim. I really like that effect. And although I know you could get it digitally using a preset or whatever, I still just love the fact that this is what the film gives you. It's just a shame it's around 20 quid a pop, but there you go. And here is another shot I took of Lucy at the same time with Lucy's camera. She was shooting black and white Kentmere 400, and it just shows the difference. I think this is a quite interesting shot as well. It's kind of nice. She's got her eyes open. I deliberately asked her to keep her eyes closed with the one just for something different. But without the colour, it is a completely different kind of shot, isn't it? And it just shows the importance of that colour. Anyway, now is probably a good time to talk about what Lucy was shooting. So she was actually testing out a new camera on this adventure. I will not say too much about it because I'm hoping to do a little test on it myself, but one of the interesting things about it is it shoots double exposures. There are all sorts of weird modes on it, but it shoots double exposures, and here's one she took of me absolutely looking my best. So interesting things with that camera. And she did take this lovely picture of these cats as well. There were some fantastic cats, and I think street photography and cats, that's a thing, isn't it? So we did get some street photography there.
There's cats. Two little cats.
So of course I couldn't resist getting a picture of Lucy getting a picture with her newfound friends. And here are some more examples of street photography that I took during this trip. They're obviously not ones that I would put in the portfolio, but it just shows that there are opportunities for photographs, and all the key locations that you expect for street photography are there. They are just rather quiet. So one of the things I used to do quite a lot in my photography was find ironic juxtapositions, and I've tried to steer away from that because it is a bit of an easy take, isn't it? But I can't resist this. Revived church and a defibrillator. Did somebody have a sense of humour when they put that there, or is it just one of those things? I'd like to think that I've just spotted that, but maybe somebody else has already thought that is amusing. Yeah, I think it's a funny idea, not a brilliant piece of execution. But back to the idea of whether there are all the places you need to do street photography in New Mills. Well, yes, there's a bus station, there's a market, there's a railway station, churches, a park, pubs, there's even a factory and a canal. So lots of different locations where you would find people. I'm somebody who likes to wander around, but maybe I would need to adapt to the pace of village life and take a more sedentary approach. So I think this would be the way to do it if I was going to do street photography. Just sit here and just wait for people to walk past like a weirdo. But I decided to not make myself look any more like a weirdo than I already do, and instead continued our wander around, taking in the sights and taking some pictures of normal things like, yeah, an eagle in a window. So Lucy, you started taking pictures of me, so I decided it was fair to take pictures of you, and here are a few of my favourites. Thanks Lucy for being my favourite piece of street art. So that just about wraps it up for our trip to the New Mills Festival and Art Trail. Really enjoyed it. I think Lucy did too. Hope you enjoyed the little smattering that I was able to show you, and my waffling on about street photography and cities and villages. I do think cities are the place for street photography, but I know that many famous street photographers have used small places to make great work. So tell me what you think. Please do drop me a comment down below. It would really be nice to hear from you, and as always it would be fantastic if you would like, share and subscribe. It helps me out no end. But until we meet again, that's it for this time. I'll be back with something new very soon, but take care of yourselves, enjoy what you're shooting, and bye for now.